In this video I want to know, is it possible to survive in the desert terrain? Because here, we will only be able to grow drought-resistant. Cultures breed certain animals. We only have one source of water. Just 100 useless dry wood. And in general, driving on sand will be difficult. The project turned out very interesting. I advise you to watch until the end. Brew cookies. Pour the tea. We are starting. The beginning. I'm in the desert of Kazakhstan, where for tens of kilometers each side there is nothing except single cacti, bushes, and enroll the field. On the way here I found a tiny village, which almost had no people. But there's a connection to the outside world here, in the form of a market and points of sale. All that we have. That's a great pickup truck, able to move even in such harsh conditions. And now my task. Find the most suitable place to create one hearth. Their own settlement. Where and will start the development of my farm. Really not a mirage. Large oasis with greenery and palm trees. Seems like the only hope of survival. Neither drink nor eat oasis will help me. You will need to build your own farm. From the nearest settlement to this place as much as 3 kilometers. We'll have to drive far to market their future products. Next I needed a plan to survive here, and one part of it will earn 200,000 on equipment. I already came up with some business ideas, even on what I saw around. But first you had to earn at least some money. I found one fallen dead wood, took an axe out of the car and divided the dry wood into parts, so you can load it directly into the pickup truck. As I know at night, it's very cold in the desert. Yes, and you need to cook on something. I think firewood here will have a great demand. This tree got me 1,500. I drooled on different newfangled tractors for a long time, but it's too early to think about it. I only had enough for a barrel on wheels. I put her in a pickup truck and went back to the oasis. Think I know. How do we start earning? Not wandering through the desert in search of rattan clumps. A lot of apuncha grows around, species of cactus with delicious fruits. We will try to breed them and harvest them. It costs me nothing. Just transplant them closer to the water. I just have to take good care of them, to collect fruit from them as often as possible. Barrow will have to help in care. Really it will be necessary very much water. I was guessing. My main concern will be water. So it happened. Having some food and water to spare, I went off. Just bought and installed by the water tent. I had nothing left, except to wait for the result of your little labor. Already next month, I was able to put together some crates of weird, but surely expensive fruit. By the way, moving from farm to village was very exciting. Finally, that is where to accelerate to 200 kilometers per hour. The main thing was not to get lost between monotonous species. What I've always ridden my own rut for. Locals appreciated my efforts. Gave away 6,000 euro for the opportunity to eat and live another day in this harsh place. But even so, I still can't afford. Not just the smallest tractor in the world. So I buy a chainsaw, sensible trailer, and send to collect the remaining trees in the area. There are only 100 of them here. So more than 100,000 from them I still will not earn. But at first, and it's money. Now, with a good instrument, I had no problem piling dry wood, was peeling it and cutting it apart, which could be easily placed in the trailer and body. Pickup had to drive a lot to fill the ABS completely. But enter a few of the trees left in this desert. For sale I don't stand. I think it is worth raising their cost. In the meantime, just folding lumber in one place. I will try to drink as many decks as possible. Not to shit this month. And still try to buy your one tractor. By evening I collected a bunch of somewhere out of 10 trees. Going to rest. And after a couple of months I built up enough, a punch of fruit, to earn on your one mini production. Yes, had to work for months to get those miserable 1000. Now I have enough for a wood chipper. With his help I'll make real ones out of these decks. Valuable commodity. Radiating warmth for buyers and joy in the form of a fat wallet for me. In the end I was able to collect 30 cubes of wood, of them will turn out somewhere 40 cubes of firewood. Just soon. Coldest months and the price will go up a lot. Of course, I had to work with them for a long time to process this amount of pell material. But now the question arises: delivery of all this. Village cacti bring though little, still stable. Their fruits allow you to cope with zero balance again and again. So, with a trailer, I delivered all these firewood to the village without any problems. Gotta keep myself a couple bags, though hard work and warm thoughts of an easy future. Heat's zero worse than any firewood. Forgot to say, the greater the weight of the equipment, the harder she gets stuck in the sand, and the harder it is to ride it. Here's already a heavy load slowing me down a lot. $50,000. Seem like cosmic sum for a desert survivor. But how do you understand? It's still very small within modern farming. Care for the local soil will require a lot of expensive equipment. Woodcutter returning next, establishing a new source of business. Tree seedlings. Think it's also goods, having demand. If we want to handle the sands, constantly bearing crops, trees will be needed already. This production requires large investments. 50,000 T fertilizer and more water. I will work and change sources of income until then. Until they allow themselves good technique. After my mortal body injected a small cart to 000 L of water here, and as much more cactus, which it was time to water, I was able to wait for the fruits of the new business. That's just me forgetting that trees grow very slowly. So the tree seedlings appeared in no hurry. After 2 months, I only got 1 pallet with goods for sale. Good, at least resources are spent very slowly, since nothing distracts me, and money is enough for life. I was just waited for spring, and now for a year, I actually succeeded. Breed many seedlings of exotic trees. To their problem, its sizes, of course. On a pickup truck and on a mini trailer you can't take out a lot of trees. But here comes the one plus. Things like this cost a lot. All triodes, including with fruits, the Japanese bring almost 100,000 euros. But this is still not enough. While I just want to improve my survival, thanks to the new roomy barrel, and also purchased a new batch of fertilizers. This time even more. Now my cacti and seedlings are 100% groomed, and it didn't cost me much effort. And in a couple more months, another batch of goods from my mini farm allows these to buy a tractor. Naturally, fat wide leg is not necessary here. Trying to buy technique as powerful as possible, but cheaper, including tools for field creation and sowing. We'll have to plow as deep as possible to get at least some subsoil. Where to plow the field? Question rhetorical. Any place is no different from another in practically nothing, except cacti sticking out of the sand sometimes. Of course, was tempted to make the field as large as possible. You know, one forbids to do it. But I will not repeat old mistakes. Better than finish, if there is such a need. When plowed wore like shit. Tractor. Blown on the sand to the side and had to catch a rut to plow straight. But the light soil almost did not slow down the plow. I think it's a reddish substance. Fit on our glorious black earth. Should give what no crop. Yet it's better than do nothing. Possibly, a stubborn struggle with the sands allowed to create here. Greenish meadows and fertile fields. Something like Uznilla. But these dreams will leave for later. So far I had to just develop enough to stop getting wiped by cacti, and also find yourself a few helpers. To future fields. Just like I thought, in the open fields seem smaller. So this whopper is my 5-hole plow. Had to swing open for a few hours. Plow large fields will have to, because all those cultures, which I can grow, also underestimated yield by 10 to 20%. We'll have to compensate for this with field sizes. This is exactly the case. When size matters, it's one field, which is so nice to have in such a place. I decorate a line shorter, making perfect. Later I will fertilize and care for him as much as possible. But what to plant the problem? Because the best option to plant sorghum is too late. After 11 months, I think we will have a new field for him. And this is me then grass. You have to put the peel off behind until the next job. Demand for the base. Leveling the territory and setting some old buildings. Finally, this trash came in handy. Instead of concrete, I lay sandstone slabs. Well, that's beauty, what? Hide the tool from the scorching sun and sands. I fill the village with seeds and, of course, fertilizers. More fertilizer. Not to cross half an hour on the tractor to the store. I tried to carry everything from the store in a pickup truck. So much faster. And then it turned out, what is this mechanical Selka? Which means it can sit down without a scrap, but still I will not be arrogant. Plant as befits a sensible farmer. The soil was as dry and red as possible. There was practically no hope for a good harvest. I've bagged so much fertilizer that they ended already in the middle. Had to buy a ton more. Perhaps it would be worth fixating on water and manure. But there is no such good here so far, neither I nor. The storm means shit. In half an hour my one field is planted with grass. Basically this is the most reliable culture. Will also produce silage and hay. But I will need exactly sorghum. So next to this I create another one field. Even a little big size for this job. Finally found an assistant. Work for us ta here a lot. And so I get a lot of free time. One thing I would like to replace these scoops. Like planted cacti. And move a full garden. For this I posted a curb. Covered it with pebbles to compact the soil. And planted exactly in a row of pieces 10 cacti. Thereby still. And triple the production of a Ponzi fruit on his farm. Also running water pumps. It will charge a few 1,000 a month. But I think it will pay for itself. Also this row of cacti will play the role of a certain forest plantation. By the way, we will also deal with them later. Well, that's in a matter of hours. This UASIS started to look like a full farm. With fields, beds, and buildings. Between which the tractor motor sounds. I decided to help. Poor fellow, and rented another one tractor with a plow. But in the store found a mower at a discount. I will need her soon. I will use it for the first time. Still haven't had her manage. Plowing into tractors went noticeably better. One more good news is that we postpone planting the variety for 1 year. It's a possibility. Earn to buy a planter and combine. Sure, the crop will be so bad. That lease. Someone else's combine can just deprive us of income. Great thanks to this investment in the future. In the form of another one field. We will be able to proceed boarding. As soon as spring comes. But by then, the grass will have time to grow a few more times. And neglect the opportunity to mow it I will not. To same. When I have such a wonderful motoblock, what was my surprise? That you can ride it even as a hoverboard. Generally shate and car some, but mows fast and wide. It's even cheaper and wider than any other cheap mower. Enjoy such a miracle, decided myself. But seriously, money for him. Then no longer. My score for some reason was most often negative. That's why I tried to work hard and earn. Without leaving any opportunity to earn a motoger. I leave the mower in its new legal place. New technique in my heart. Next I will need a new technique. For baling beveled blessing. All this time worked a lot of cacti. Who produce dozens of crates of fruit. Nice to have a reliable source of income. I'm wondering here. What other survival do I need to think of? To make it as complicated as possible in space. I swear I seriously thought about it. At least about surviving on Mars under the dome. Similar. Delusional thoughts passed the time of travel to the store. Where did get his 60,000 go nuts? Spending on running water and new cacti bought themselves. And also buying your own Wolfman and renting. Ticker for a while. Especially with such then. Income and prospects in the field. Besides fertilizer on the fields, I also bought expensive silos supplements. 10,000 for a can cost, but I will have to greatly increase the efficiency. Or in our case the current volume. Silo I decided to do this time. And you know what is not for sale? I have a better idea. And in general there are many ideas. But before getting high on their implementation. Had to corny work. Try hard on that. What already is. In this case it's a field with like no wonder. Good harvest of grass. My work at the party. With we allowed there in some 20 minutes. Make about 40 little bales. Wrapped in film. In a couple months, the grass inside them is fermented into great feed. Under the newly erected canopy. Technology is becoming more and more. And the farm looks much greener. In early spring, when it's time to plant sorghum, another crop of grass grew. Of course, I'm going to mow her, but this is prevented by bales from the past mowing, for storage space. But even more importantly, equipment for collecting. So many bales again needed money, and on account again negative, affects the auto-watering of seedlings, cacti, and rented machinery. Fortunately, cacti in 6 months gave fruit for another 50,000, so I have no problem buying my own trailer, with which is transporting pallets and awnings now. Will never be a problem for us. Well, like go. Try to throw such balls on the trailer, and that's those 100 cubes of silage. I'm just putting aside, because this is the future food for our cattle, but not cows soon find out what. And as you can see even in sales, years of accumulated products does not allow you to buy a sensible cow barn, which our cattle would hide from the heat, and was able to give valuable milk. We'll leave it for later. Now I buy a planter and a new one, batch of seeds and fertilizers. It's time to sow our new field, best candidate for dry soil sorghum. Parallel we will mow a new batch of grass. I enjoy a unique opportunity to observe the work of the planter. In the desert, of course, perfectly flat field is given without problems. Plus one technique in our collection. Let sorghum grow, and I'm back on the braid again. This time we still wolf and bale the grass on the silo. Now for sale. Usually I would miss the opportunity to mowing. But here somehow you want. Cling to any opportunity to produce something. Endless sands on the background seem to remind of the past. About what started. Unfortunately, the tractor was only one so far, which means several processes on the field had to perform in turn. While was doing this, figured out a few more tasks on the farm. At one, we need roads. Sometimes you get so bogged down that you go hand to hand in an hour. Even on the farm, these roads will have to once and for all fix this problem. Truth appears new. You will always have to drive on the roads, and not in a straight line. How already povatil. Roads spent everywhere. Even those 3 came to the store. Now the delivery of a large number of goods should not make up problems, and also so I will be less lost in the desert. That's serious. Sometimes I went to the farm and ended up somehow near the store. I'm very proud of my farm, especially the grain field. In honor of this, even bought myself new clothes. Of course, cowboy, body in Kazakhstan, soul in the Wild West financially, as if in Africa. This is forest plantations, which I was talking about. Previously bought fertilizer and shovel, as well as the seedlings themselves. Trees are expensive. I will try to disembark, and on my own, also decorate with curbs and landscaping. Soon here will be some lines with trees, which will have to prevent the desert. Tighten our fields and roads with sands, and in a few months my fast-growing and drought-resistant tree species grew a little, creating a shield between the vulnerable crops and severe weather. In the desert, my sorghum is almost ripe, and I'm in anticipation of collecting it. But like you already probably noticed, behind me is a new crop of grass. Naturally, I collect past batch of bales, but just taking them aside, lucky in winter, when the price of them will be the highest. Now I don't need money much, but mow the field 3 times. Our motor hero mower is no longer capable. Fuel ran out of happiness. The store sold these barrels. 500 liters. Think we have enough to gas up that unfortunate technique, which I have already managed to acquire. This and subsequent times the mowing went much faster. The mower ran us. I could slowly practice on the tractor. Wolf and Dukovka. Not hiding, I felt confident enough already to think of new tractors and mowers, but still had to buy so much stuff. What were they standing somewhere in the background? 10th in line. So I'll exploit this technique as long as possible, and in a couple of months, not only the grass was fermented, well, and sorghum is ripe, yea, about 5 hectares of grain income. Animal feed. I will need a combine now. Fortunately, there is a lot of things in store. I carry all the accumulated bales for sale is 100,000 silage, first and to later assembled batches, as well as a huge amount of fruit from cacti and seedlings. Finished my budget to 180,000. Also, I got rid of unnecessary productions and technique. Finally, I allowed myself the cheapest, but own harvester with header and trailer remaining. Enough money for that. Where did this sorghum actually grow? Huge chicken coop in the middle of the farm. And the onion is inside. Will make everything green around. Inside such Custom chicken coop will fit more than 1,000 chickens. We'll have time to grow them, feed, and pick up egg crates. That's even a huge tree put them. There was a tenyak riding around the updated farm. There was a need for new road detachments. The crop itself was going no problem. There is nothing much to say about the yield. Maximum amount of fertilizers, no weed, and the most suitable culture adequately survived the hardships of survival in this area. After 10 minutes, I unloaded one few cubes of grain. And in general, even a few were visible from all over the field. Trailers, but you should not worry and think, well, my chickens have enough of this grain. Because no one bothers to create you another 1, 2, or at least 10 fields. There's a whole desert around, for the spaska of which all people will only be grateful. Ended up with 30 cubes of grain, which chickens will not eat everything at once. So, I had to build a shed as well, in which this grain will be stored. We'll also have to keep one trailer with the grain part right by the feeder, to constantly replenish them. I bought here 500 chickens, and very soon their number will double. Feeders will have to be replenished as often as possible, and under the canopy is scent plus one technique. The farm already looks very impressive, green, big, fertile, profitable, cozy. But my main is, the goal is still not fulfilled, and there is a long way to it. Remaining 30,000. I plan to invest into new productions, small pallet production and kitchen, where our fruits will be cooked in marmalade. Thus, dozens of boxes of cheap fruit. They will become more expensive goods. And with the help of a sawmill we will be able to clean up the rabid, sticking out dishes, dry, bitter, much rotten. We will make chips, and it is best to make osp and pallets out of it. Besides, osp we'll need to build houses, and pallets for trading goods are shorter. Goods are most useful in these places. Of course, I have enough technique to do cutting and delivering trees to the farm. But so load was hard, and tractors hardly drive on viscous sand. So I nipped a little, processed the brought decks and sold the goods. Those half our work brought enough money to prepare better. Big logging, combine, and roomy deck truck. Yes, I still drove extremely slow. Getting to and so rotten trees was hard. Buy loose sand, but it was already incredibly easy to slice and then ship, using arrow and grip log, moving far away. But the place to work is easy, and repeated these two processes over and over again. Later I had enough money for a winch, with which I pulled trees straight, combine, and sliced decks in place. It's a long process, and I was sorry to look at the stretching in the garage. Technique decided. Let them know, starting to create another one field with all the help. We will either support growing sorghum, which may not be enough for a year, 1,000 chickens, or we can start growing something new. Soon in the county almost gone, only standing, and my production is clogged with rares. We will work, gentlemen. Fields were created already light, and I wanted more. But the main thing is not to do too much, to not stuff Oscom, and continue slowly and wisely to deal with that. What we have that will be on this field while the secret. In the meantime, I'm going to process wood, which was delivered to production. After 2 months of work, you could enter goods for sale. Our big trailer just BTW. USB sheets are big by themselves. All 3 walks allowed to withdraw all supplies from the farm and earn almost 3,000. But this is only enough for that. To install the cheapest of suitable pens, and also buy 40 small buffalo. I think the heat will be the least harmful to them. More than that, they give more expensive milk and eat less feed than regular, shorter, most relatable cattle. Cattle for our area. Such a big corral allowed to hold up to 200 goals. So one day their population will be able to increase 5 times. Remains in time to stock up on their food. Exactly why. A couple of years ago I prepared them these bales with silage. Well, painters need so little. That one mowing is enough for them for a year. Also needed a Solomon, her and shredder, necessary to create a post in the pen. We'll have to buy. Fortunately, the straw will be consumed even slower, and cost way cheaper, shorter. Buffalo, except expensive Sogan, will require minimum income and expenses for themselves. Grew a new crop of grass. Ignore him, I will not be able and do not want to. Really tired of this mower. To slow and narrow she, against the background of its more expensive counterparts. But this year, we spent so much. Update inventory for fields. We will next time mow and no. Do not wolf. This time harvesting grass for animals again. And here again, a long history of prep. I'm gonna need a winch first. I decided to give a got those few Sagostoi, left behind by sand dunes, to produce some more pallets and slabs usp. The situation is as familiar as possible and probably tired of you. So, delving into the details I will not process. But I will not do it either. This time my income for the month was 11000. This was enough for your own baling machine and hay rake. Don't even know where to start with that. How happy I am with my own baler. Or why would I even need a raffle? With help both. I was able to easily prepare 3 dozen large bales. Hay as well as plus to techniques under the canopy. As well as the last equipment I rented I return. Next I was waiting for spring, to plant a new crop of surg. And also saved money, and was afraid. So my farm doesn't get blown away by a sandstorm. Parallel had to follow the chickens, and constantly feed them. In consumption went to press grains. Fortunately spring came very soon, and it's time to draw not 3 conclusions. Chickens will just live to see the next sorghum crop, but this year there are twice as many. Which means you need to plant 1 more field. There was grain left in the barn just before. Harvesting a new crop and eating a lot. Chickens are worth it. Buffalo are sane. But also care for them, at least eat like goosebumps. This means that our hay is quite enough to contain 1 more law with animals. But first what I'm used to. I had to fix the budget. The irony is that in the spring almost all my goods are the lowest in price. But even so all pallets are eggs. Marmalade costs 75000. This is quite enough for another 1 corral with a sheep meadow. As well as a couple dozen little goats. Another one of the animals. Able to survive on land you climb it. And also like buffalo give more exotic milk. Rather than cow. Their onions even greener the earth around the oasis. And for their feeding we have already prepared 150 cubes of hay. Someone reproached me that feeding sheep and goats regular grass is wrong. So I prepared hay. Well then now we will produce it. At the same time sheep will not be so ginger. For this had to rent a bale shredding machine. In general, feeding buffalo and goats did not amount to labor. And sure, very soon they will start paying for themselves with expensive milk. From which we will also make a secret product. About this later. In honor of such a farm development pumped and myself. Whoa, almost look like a cowboy. Next in my plans was to put a sorg. What I can do next month. Feeding the chickens was very hard. Because of a cheap chicken coop with small feeders. They had to be restocked every couple hours. So at night I was on duty near them. Plans to pump as soon as possible. Chicken coop but still had to pump the technique for mowing. Lately spending has exceeded all my capabilities. Besides selling an old mower. I sell extra bales with silage, marmalade and eggs. These 30,000 are only enough for a mower. But needed 1 more tractor. To haul new technique. And generally keep up with all these constantly. Fields appearing every year. Selling already unnecessary sawmill and pickup truck. Allows you to buy another 1 powerful, but inexpensive tractor. This Fiat is one of my favorites. And also thanks to the front, will be able to drag to mowers. Thus, I will be engaged, mowing much faster and more efficient. And 2 is already a free tractor. Just might be doing sorghum planting in a new field. As you can see my farm has moved from a development stage. The emergence of new ways of earning equipment and buildings. In the stage of banal existence and survival. Now my task will be to live here for another 1 year. And experience the farm I created in practice. Just in that time I can fix. Noticed flaws. Mowing with new tools. Gave unthinkable pleasure. Now it's much easier and nicer. So I mowed myself. Plus the tools in the collection. Gonna keep them on pallets. Until there are no dunks here. Will hire on my tractor. This time almost planted the field. But fertilizer local soil eats a lot. Needed more money. A lot of money for fertilizer cultivator for the fields. Bales coaster. Normal chicken coop. And this is not the whole list. How it usually be. Solution found there. Where we're not waiting for him from. In 1 my marmalade production. Does not have time to process all the fruits with cacti. Unload the leftovers onto the trailer. Also picking up extra bales of hay. Because the goats will have enough for a couple of pieces a year. Taking into account the huge bow under the hooves. Thus I enable another 40,000 pennies. but on the cheapest cultivator. Bales wetter and a couple bag of fertilizer was enough. One thing I certainly delivered for tea: a fertilizer home, so that we can continue landing. And to already free tractor and new cultivator, I will be able to prepare the field for the upcoming landing. This year I plan normally feed 1,000 adult chickens. I hope these two fields are enough for us. Whole money and labor on this chain field of cows, eggs, and also chain grass goats. Buffalo milk goes away very much. Just a blind hope that all this will bring me a sensible income. Makes keep doing it. Later hire came to plant that field. Where did I cultivate? Working in tandem is very airy. Using tons of fertilizer already. The only thing I want to complain about. These are narrow tools like for such large fields, plus one appliance in the garage. Nasi and Nicosia can also work together. One wolves to also ticks. Offends thought. That then you will still have to wrap these bales in film. But the fact that we work with our own tools. Among the dessert, can't help but, please. Farms change in every part. Something cooler, something less interesting. But hayfields have always been, and remain interesting. Useful, and very profitable. Get 3 times 50,000 a year from such a small field. Either be able to feed 1,000 animals. Truly amazing. Wrap takes a lot of time and body movements. One of the following tasks by baler directly with wrapper. And perfectly coped with the field work this spring. Dozens of bales harvested. And somewhere 8 hectares of fields planted. One more technique to the garage. Going to rest until then. Until a new job shows up. That's the essence of all farm life. After 2 months, it's time to bring out some merchandise for sale. Those are eggs. Just finished fermentation grass and bales. Marmalade and leftover fruit from cacti. Altogether brings more than 80,000. I figured out the numbers here. Counted, and that's what I realized. If you sell bales wet, I can buy such a handsome man. In my opinion, I became a very wealthy owner of this farm. Since I own my own combine and baler. Previously, such things I almost always had in the option. Well, the sprayer you borrowed so far. This is 1 year when we will have to fight the weeds. This field is growing all ready to harvest. And every time the ground is not plowed, wait for the weed. Fortunately, took it a matter of minutes. We need max crop top, since chickens are getting out of hand. They only get bigger, and they eat more and more grain. And don't offer to just sell a part. I will be pressed by a toad. That 1/2 of the law will empty next month. I failed. Ignore the grown grass. Picking one more crop. Let's see for sale or for feed. But most importantly, a huge amount of sorghum is already ripe. How did the supplies from the last harvest run out in time? I'm with us, they're already going to the pole. 2 missing out on them for the next 2 hours. Nothing much to comment here. Except this time the crop was much smaller. Because for a long time there was no rain. And I forgot to put liquid fertilizer in. But even so the volume loomed. 1.5 times the past. Of course, I dragged all the harvested grain into this old canopy. That rare case, when the elevator came in handy. So also completely fill it. Went there 50 cubes. And another 10 cubes will remain trailer. 2 already feed chickens or chickens. Like right. Freeing myself, I happily helped to. Mercenary to dunk the collected grass. After waiting 2 months. Still on duty at the chicken coop. And this month. The farm was very generous on different goods. All products in large quantities. Still the joy of buffalo and goats. Finally grew up and started giving milk. Feeding them the last supplies of silage. The next mowing will have to do them on the feed. And this month with the rest of the goods I sell for 1,000. I would like to sell old tractors. And take this money some new gender. But this issue I try to think with my head. And not but. Replacing the pen with chickens. 2,000 heads BTW. Selling for 2,000. In place of this corral I put a new one with a roof. Large elevator and still the same spacious corral. Already here I can unload grain for months ahead. True with my trailer with the rotary axle to drive here. Real problem. No matter how many years of experience you have. Trailers like this remain a problem. Year after year I buy 1,000 chickens again. We'll have to raise them to adult chickens. For adults cost tens of 1,000. In my opinion, with chickens solve the problem once and for all. And buffaloes still buy huge amount of straw. One such bale is enough for them bedding quality for a month. So, we will buy so many times a year. Goats are generally handsome. Silently give milk and eat grass from the corral. Give them no feed, no bedding. After a month it's time to set production. Buffalo and goat milk cheese. Him we will have some. Sure, even a small factory like ours. Handle the volumes. One few cans of goat milk. Sent for processing. What a beauty here. Mouse paradise is straight. But for buffalo milk you have to rent a barrel. Well, that's just thought. That I bought everything. Everything is now you need a new trailer and a barrel. Animals kinda order. Moreover, we start another one mowing grass. This time force with buffalo. They grew up and start eating noticeably more. The tractor meanwhile was not idle. Hint on it began to cultivate fields. Next year we will plant sorghum. By the way, I can already see that the sorghum harvest for this year is not enough for us. So I will open one more field. In winter it's time to lead one more grain bailiff. But there is no desire to do this particular bailiff. Getting rid of the tractor. Which BTW. Soon I will replace in trailer. I buy a new one. Default cool trailer. With the possibility of increasing it in the future. Already with him I will be able to carry 2 times more. And check in much more convenience. Every day I try to transport milk. To not get spoiled in the form of cheese. It will be stored longer. Goats give noticeably more milk and breed faster. So far the XR is produced faster and it looks like one time we will earn from it. And in another month I transfer milk. Feeding chickens, collecting silage on bales. To give to buffalo. Now I will always keep exactly them. Exactly buffalo. They eat less. They are easier to care for than ordinary milk cows. Using in his repertoire. So effective. That is already starting to get sick of his milk. But while we cook expensive cheese, let them continue. Another year passes in 2 months. Draw conclusions. The only problem remains chickens. Which feed ended in the spring. Now I will plow them one more field shorter. How did y'all get it already? Farm turned out very cool. Effective technique. A lot of land in abundance. Yield is bad on sand, but compensated by long work. In large areas. Animals have to keep specific. Well, they turn out to be even cooler than regular money. Soon and cheese will be in abundance. Although before that he did not complain about finances. If you like the farm and the very idea of surviving in the desert, like and subscribe, please don't.